Hi there everyone, Jessica Brogley here. Today we're talking about the classroom management plan. As part of your requirement for Level 2 portfolios, we're completing a classroom management plan of some type, so you can find ours on our syllabus and open up the classroom management plan shared document. Now from here, we don't all want to type on this same document, so you'll need to make your own copy. You would click File, Make a Copy. So let's go through each piece of this. Now, you may find that for your classroom, some of this stuff needs to be deleted or it doesn't apply to you. You would ask your CT for their classroom management tips or watch to see what things do they do in the classroom. And you want to think of the little things for Section 1, routine and procedures. How do they come in the room in the morning? What's the first thing that needs to get done? Do they start with vocab work on the board or do they grab a Chromebook? How do they grab a Chromebook and how do they put it back? Do you want them to plug it in? Do they tuck the cord in? Do they shut the door? You'll really want to think through all of those things because your students will not know to do those unless they have a teacher right before you that does exactly the same thing that you want. So teach procedure. Some of our classrooms are going to have a lot, like a science room. It's going to have tons of procedures for all their labs. So I found that English and history, they may have a certain set of procedures, and your science, tech ed, and ag, totally different set. Not that you don't have some of the same procedures, but what I'm trying to say is this last section here, procedures to teach at the beginning of the year, is going to look totally different between the disciplines. So don't be surprised if you really have to change this template. Go for it. All right, let's look at Section 2, developing and teaching expectations. What expectations do you hold for your students when it comes to contributing in class? How about going to the bathroom or working with a partner, getting up and moving during work time? What do you expect students to do? So for this one, you may just want to ask your CT or watch them to see how do they handle these things and how effective are they. Maybe you'll witness some things that aren't going as well, so you could think about what would I do differently. Section 3, encouraging positive behavior. How will you encourage them to do the right thing? So really, a huge one you can do is just make sure your lessons are engaging. Actually think about what engages students today and gear your lesson towards that. And often, a lot of these behavioral problems do disappear. So for one, I'm sure you're going to talk about that, creating engaging lessons and what does that mean. And how do you reinforce individual students? How do you reinforce the appropriate behavior for your class, your whole school? Like, what are those things? How do you recognize positive behavior? Now, some schools have a PBIS system or responsive classroom. So maybe if your school has that, like Platteville Middle School, you could find out what are those things and how can I implement them into my classroom management plan. So again, ask around if you're a PBIS school or responsive classroom. And if not, you don't need those things really to do this section. You can just think about for yourself, what will you do? Part 4, rules and consequence. Do kids need to tell you that they're heading to the bathroom? Are they allowed to have their cell phones out? When it's time to get up and work with a partner, do you want them to ask you first, and can they work with anybody? Can they work in the hallway? And if so, do they need to ask you first? Can they go to the library when it's study hall or something like that? And if so, do they need a pass? Like, be thinking through all those things. You might want to ask for your districts that you're working in, maybe a handbook. Sometimes the handbooks outline all of those policies for you. Principles of your classroom, meaning how do you expect students to treat one another? What would that be? And the last 3 you may need to tweak. How do you redirect negative behavior? You're going to have students do things that catch you off guard. So how will you redirect negative behavior when a student blurts something out to the whole class or tries to divert attention off you and onto them? What will you do? So that's whole class instruction. Individual work time, what will you do if a student is just not working? They're refusing to work. All right, so think about too, and again, I want to encourage you to not take it personally. Remember, your students come to school with a lot of baggage. Your class is not the most important thing to them during the day or even in that hour. So think about that and ask questions, trying to dig at what's really going on. And thirdly, maybe there's a group work time. You've allowed them to work in groups. You've got them spread out between the classroom and the hallway, but one particular group or a student in a group is steering the group off track big time. What will you do? All right, so think about those types of things. And again, if they don't really apply to your position for some reason, feel free to edit them. So I would expect the biggest portion here would be expectations and rules and procedures, right? So some resources for you to consider. I placed a file in the Pre-Student Teaching Classroom Management Plan folder in our Google Drive account, our Google Drive shared folder from Edutopia, 10 Tips for Classroom Management. It is really, really good. You need to read this. I know it only covers 10 tips, but each tip is full of ideas. I think you can write most of your classroom management plan based off of this one document. So between this, your CT, and if you have any friends or family or instructors here on campus, have conversations with them. This isn't a project where where I think I need to impart all of my experiences with my classroom management. I want you to dig into lots of other resources and people and just figure out, what did you do that worked, that kept students on track and focused. So check this out. I highly recommend it. I think it's a fantastic document. Another person that you may want to Google to see if you can find any information is Rick Smith. He's the author of the book I was talking about earlier, Conscious Classroom Management. He may have some materials too on his website, consciousteaching.com. So I see free resources. I'm always looking for free things. So check that out and see if you can find anything that proves of value to you. But again, you look at the template, you ask your CT or friends and family that have teaching experience, and then look at the Edutopia resources. You have plenty to be able to write a rough draft for a classroom management plan. So when you're all done with your classroom management plan, let's just pretend this is full. You need to turn this into TaskStream, but TaskStream will not let you upload a Google Doc. So you'll click File, Download as a PDF or a Word document. So I'll download my PDF, and that is what I'm going to upload to TaskStream. So I hope you have fun doing the classroom management plan. I think it really opens up conversations for you to have with lots of people about how are you going to handle it when this happens. A lot of our classrooms now have loads of technology integrated. What are you going to do when you have 22 students, all of them have a device? How will you keep them engaged when you are competing with that machine? So think about how to leverage all of that for your advantage. And above all, remember, keep an engaging lesson and involve your students in all of those processes with options and choices and the ability to communicate and collaborate and create. Good luck and have fun.